Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about why I paid off all of my student loan debt. So when I was in college, I was on a football team, so I was actually on scholarship. I didn't have to pay for my first year of college. And after I got injured, I realized that I didn't like the team that I was playing for. And so I wanted to transition and focus on my studies. So I went to a community college where I actually didn't have to pay anything. But based on my inexperience, I saw some of my friends going to bigger schools. And I said, you know what? In order to achieve more in life, I need a bigger name. And thus, I went to a bigger college, all of which is not true. If I could turn back time, I would have stayed on the football team, which the coach wanted me to do. I would have played my first year instead of asking to redshirt. And potentially, I would have been at a bigger college playing football still at that time. But instead, I opted into redshirt, and then I did not come back the following year. So I basically quit on the team. It's very unfortunate, and I wish I could take that back. Year two, focused on my studies. I actually got paid to be in school because I was at a community college in New York. And I was working, so I saved up $10,000, and that is what I used to pay for my last 2 years of college while working and going to school. So that money went away super quick in one semester, and I had to work super hard throughout that whole semester just to pay for the following semester. So as a junior, it took everything I had just to get past my junior year. And really, the biggest expense, as we all know, is room and board. You're paying $8,000 for about 3 months of room and board. So essentially, you're paying about $16,000 for 6 months of room and board or 7 months of room and board. A lot of kids can't make that type of money when in school and trying to focus full time. But I worked hard, I grinded, and I was able to pay that. But I realized that if I didn't want to be in debt, there was no way I could stay on college campus. So I had to move off campus where I was paying about $600 a month in rent, and that was not including utilities at the time. And so that allowed me to work and not go into debt while finishing my senior year of college. Upon graduating, I still actually had one more class to take, so I had to go and pay $700 to take a Spanish class. And I had to find a place to stay just for the month because my landlord would not renew my lease for 1 month because I didn't want to do a year lease. So what essentially happened was I had to room with someone else. I think I paid a little bit more than what I was paying originally, or the same amount. And I finished that year. When I finished my Spanish course, I had about $200 to my name, and that paid for a U-Haul and the gas to go from upstate New York back to New York City. It's completely wiped out, completely broke. But I had the degree, and I was ready to go. When I came back to New York City, I had got 2 jobs instantly, White Castle and Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut was only giving me 8 hours a week. White Castle was giving me about 32 hours a week. And then I was looking for a job where I became a manager at Blaze Pizza. And then Amazon offered me an area manager job. But why did I work so hard to be out of debt? Okay. There were many jobs that I applied for straight out of college, like a teacher's assistant, especially as a biology graduate. And I actually wanted to go and pursue higher education in the pharmacy department. However, they wanted me to take additional courses all over again, which I wasn't willing to do. I wasn't willing to give another half of my life, half of a year away before doing another 3 to 4 year program in pharmacy. And so I opted out of that. I decided that it was time for me to go ahead and make a salary rather than go ahead and pursue that education. In doing so, there was student loan debt that I did not get into. I know a lot of people that don't care that they have student loan debt, believe that it might be forgiven, and may depend on a government job to pay it off after 20 years of service. I have a lot of friends that are doctors and some that are probably going to watch this video. And the average doctor, it takes 20 years to pay off their student loan debt if they actually want to. But I know a lot of people who jokingly laugh that they will never pay off their student loan debt, whether they're mad at the banks, mad at the school system, mad at the government, whatever they're mad at, they're keeping a debt that they are making the minimum payments on and will be making that for the majority of their life. Whether it's the average student loan debt of $30,000 or whether it's as high as $300,000, there are people who simply just refuse to pay on it. Now, just like I always advocate for compound interest in the stock market, compound interest over time is what will breed wealth. There is absolutely no one who can invest in good mutual funds at even a 7% return and only put 15% of whatever they make for the next 40 years and not be a millionaire. There's absolutely no way, no how that is not possible for every single American on this planet. But the truth is that only a third of people actually become millionaires. And even less than that don't need to rely on government assistance in order to get by in their later years. Now, with that being said, people look at that and they say, okay, I only have $30,000. The problem with that train of thought is that when you're paying the minimum amounts, you are not maximizing what you can be doing after that is paid off, and what that interest rate is compared to what you're actually making, earning in investments by not paying it off. For example, I have a home that has a 2.625% interest rate. I have another home that has a 2.99% interest rate. I understand that interest rate is far lower than inflation. If inflation was at 1%, I would be working hard to pay off the homes. No matter how cheap the rate is, I understand that I am losing money with an interest rate so high. But since interest rates are well above 6% at this time, I think they've actually came down to 5% now, but it's still almost twice as high as what my mortgage is. Therefore, it is better for me to invest that cash. And it's always going to be better for me to invest the cash because you tend to make a 7 to 11% return in the stock market. Now, if I were to buy a home with an interest rate of 8%, I would be more in a rush to pay that off, knowing that the returns in the stock market may not even be as advantageous because of the interest rate that I'm paying down. I don't have to worry about the home because I understand that as I pay into this home, I am literally taking away an 8% interest rate that is compounding for 30 years. That is a better investment than 7% in the stock market. But when you have a 3% interest rate, you're more likely to invest in the stock market because you know that you can earn more in the stock market. With that being said, the same thing applies to your student loans. You know what your student loan interest rate is, and it varies. I know some people who have 17%. I know some people who have 2%. So it truly just depends on who you are as a person and what that interest rate is. To truth be told, a lot of people start off with minimal credit, if at all any credit. And so that takes away from their ability to even get those loans on their own. And because of that, they're going to have high interest rates, and they get away with it due to the fact that they don't necessarily understand how things work, right? You give a 16, 17-year-old a loan, and you expect them to understand what to do with it. For example, when I went to Ohio, I had a great credit score. It was like 760. Some people might say that's not great. But when I was buying my first car, I put half of the money down. In fact, I put more than half of the money down. And the car dealership came back to me and said, "Oh, we're going to give you a 5% interest rate just because you haven't started your job yet. I know you got the offer letter, but you still haven't started the job." Mind you, I had the ability to pay it off in cash, but I just wanted to have a paid off car on my credit score to grow it, right? I had no idea that I could have walked away from the bank and said, "I need you to find me a better interest rate." Or I could have asked a bank for a loan on the car and they would have given me a better interest rate. So with that understanding that I have now, I could have potentially got a 3% or a 4% interest rate on that vehicle rather than a 5%. But in the grand scheme of things, the interest rate payment was severely low. It was under $200, which I believe the average car payment today is like $761. So I was paying almost 4 times less than what the average American is paying just 2 years or 3 years later. So with that understanding, you want to understand that you want to be different from everybody else. That's point blank, period, and simple. You want to do what everyone else is doing. You want to do what the private money lender is doing. When I give someone cash, I expect a certain percent of return for it. When I invest in the stock market, I expect a certain amount of return. When I invest in my high interest savings account, I'm getting a 4.15% return. When I invest in a Series I bond, I'm getting a 7.69% return. When a bank invests, they get so-and-so return. When they give you a credit card, you might be liable for a 26 to 28% return. When they give you a home loan, you might be liable for a 6 to 7% interest rate, which is their return. When they give you a car loan, you may be liable for a 10, 11% interest rate, which is their return. Why aren't you the one making the interest on that money? Why is your money the one that's always going out the window? Why are you unable to earn passive income rather than active income? One way to do that is to limit the amount of people that's earning passive income from you. You have to break out of the mindset that you are the one giving and not receiving. And so even if the student loan was $50, you know what that stops you from being able to do? It lowers the amount that you can afford on a home because your debt to income is going to be higher. Same thing if you had a car payment. That's why when I buy houses, I make sure I have 0 car payments. It lowers your affordability on a vehicle as well. Some banks want to approve you for a loan on a vehicle because your car payments are so high. You're not going to be able to refinance for as much as you can if you have a $700 car payment or a $500 student loan because they got to take that into account when they factor in your debt to income ratio. You're not going to be able to put the largest HELOC out for an investment because, again, that debt to income ratio is holding you down. So now you're limiting your investment opportunities. You're blocking your own ability to maneuver and make more money to build more wealth for your future, for your family, for yourself. And so that's why I'm an advocate for getting rid of bad debt. Completely get rid of it. And that way you are able to unlock something that most people don't have the ability to unlock. And that is opportunity. Opportunity is the most amazing thing in the world. I love it so much. It is the reason why I get up every single morning. The reason why I love saving and I love investing. Because when I look at $10,000, I'm able to identify and opportunity for that. When I look at 20,000, there's more opportunity. 30, more opportunity. 40, more opportunity. 100, more opportunity. And then you get into these bigger numbers, there's even more opportunity, especially when you have the knowledge and the understanding to grasp it. But you know what will happen if you have bad debt? It's still going to take away from your ability to maximize on those opportunities, no matter how much cash you have. And so if you make $300,000 a year and you have a $50 a month debt that is lowering your debt to income, most people would say, oh, that's not bad. I say, what if you had $300,000 a year and no debt? What you are able to do, your opportunity has risen. The opportunity cost has gone down. The risk has gone down. A lot of people don't factor that in. You see, when they say that's not bad, they don't say that's great. So you're going to get the that's not bad, here's what you can afford, versus the that's great, here's what you can afford. And guess what? When it's on the right side, that's great, I promise you, you can afford much more. So if you like this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You know I post every single day at 8 a.m. daily, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Peace.